Hello everybody, and welcome to the Right Group's presentation. My group is going to talk to you about how aviation is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. The purpose of our project is to research the projected industry growth over the next 5 to 10 years, while presenting evidence of change in both the long as well as the short term. Firstly, let me introduce some of my colleagues. First of all, I will be talking about the rising cost of fuel, the push for increased deregulation in the industry, as well as the rise in popularity of low-cost carriers. My colleague Kevin will be talking about the problem of having a worldwide pilot shortage, and Justin will be talking about the long and short-term examples of projected hiring. The rising cost of fuel. The high cost of fuel is probably the most obvious issue facing airlines today, and many of the airlines are actually imposing the fuel surcharges on their customers. The high costs are a factor for most industries, but fuel is an especially critical component for carriers. And in fact, for every dollar that the fuel price increases by, the airline can expect to lose up to $425 million. The higher ticket prices also mean that less people can afford to fly. Hence, more people are actually choosing to fly low-cost carriers rather than standard legacy long-haul carriers. And every time the price of oil goes up, airline stocks are expected to fall. For example, in Singapore Airlines, the cost of fuel is the number one challenge for them. Even though the airline is government controlled and doesn't face some of the challenges from the upstart regional low-cost airlines, this the rising cost of fuel still affects its analysts and investors, and investors are lose their confidence in long haul carriers in aviation industries, especially when fuel prices are going up. However, in uh, airlines such as British Airways and JetBlue, fuel is only one of many challenges. Even though fuel is at an all-time high, at the end of the day, their analysts have come to terms that it's simply something that they have to get to terms with, and it just becomes another variable that they have to deal with. Next, I'd like to talk to you about the push for deregulation. Many airlines are pushing for deregulation, such, um, for example, in the US, a number of airline bankruptcies have helped drive the efficiency push, while in Europe it has been more organic. And there are actually many hopes that the barriers that restrict access to markets will be brought down. Singapore Airlines, for example, is looking to gain access in the Australian market by dealing with the Australian government to bring down certain barriers that restrict business. Another way of deregulation is to actually strike bilateral agreements. One such example is between the UK and India, where they have already started to double the frequency of flights between the two countries. The push for more open skies literally mean that an airline can choose to fly anywhere, and it has been a goal of the aviation industry for a very long time. We can also expect more consolidation of airlines, as we have seen in Air France and KLM. And one of the biggest factors that we can see affecting the aviation industry in the next 5 to 10 years is the popularity of low-cost carriers. Low-cost carriers carry the idea that there are no frills and they offer affordable air travel to passengers. And in AirAsia, their motto is actually now everyone can fly. And low-cost carriers are actually gaining a huge market share um, in the aviation industry compared to legacy airlines. In fact, the low-cost carriers are also competing for the same destinations that long-haul carriers fly to. Personally, I'm a pilot for a low-cost carrier, and I do see the value for pilots especially who are able to clock more regular hours compared to my counterparts in long haul carriers. With that being said, I'd like to end my speech and will hand over to Kevin, who will now talk to you about the problem of the shortages of pilots in the world. Thank you.